They ignored the single dad in the lobby all day, then they learned who signed their paychecks. Nobody offers a chair to a man they've already decided doesn't matter. For 6 hours, Marcus Reed sat on a cold bench in the marble lobby of Ashford Tower, his 6-year-old daughter Zoe curled against his shoulder, and not one person from that gleaming glass company looked at him twice. They would remember this day for the rest of their careers. And by the time the sun dropped behind the skyline, every single one of them would wish they had simply said hello. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories where the overlooked finally get seen, hit like on this video right now, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so you never miss a story like this one. Now, let's get back to Marcus and Zoe. Marcus had worn his only good blazer that morning, the navy one with a small coffee stain on the cuff that he'd scrubbed at for 20 minutes the night before. He'd polished his shoes with a napkin in the elevator. He wanted, more than anything, to look like a man who belonged in a building like this, because for the first time in 8 months, someone had actually agreed to interview him. Not just interview him, consider him for a position that could change everything for him and his daughter. The letter had said 9 o'clock sharp, lobby of Ashford Tower, ask for human resources. So he had gotten Zoe up at 6, packed her a peanut butter sandwich, and told her it would be a quiet day, that she needed to be his brave girl and sit still while Daddy waited for his turn. But 9 o'clock came and went. Then 10. Then 11. Every time Marcus approached the front desk to ask, politely, if someone could tell him how much longer, the receptionist offered a tight smile and said someone would be right with him. Employees in tailored suits walked past him all morning, phones in hand, laughing about weekend plans, stepping over his daughter's crayons without seeming to register that a child was sitting there at all. A group near the elevator glanced at his scuffed briefcase and the crayon drawing Zoe had taped to it, and one woman actually wrinkled her nose, as if poverty itself had a smell. Nobody asked why a man and his little girl had been sitting in a corporate lobby since sunrise. Nobody wondered if they were hungry. Marcus told himself it didn't matter. He had been invisible before. He knew how to survive it. What none of them knew, what none of them could have possibly imagined, was that Marcus Reed was not just another desperate applicant clutching a resume. 2 years earlier, after his wife passed away and left him alone with a toddler and a mountain of medical bills, Marcus had quietly built a small logistics consulting firm out of his kitchen table, working nights after Zoe fell asleep. That firm had grown faster than he ever dared hope, and 6 months ago, in a stroke of business he'd told almost no one about, his company had become the majority shareholder, the actual controlling owner, of the very holding group that had just acquired Ashford Tower's parent corporation. He wasn't coming for a junior position out of desperation. He had asked, deliberately, humbly, to be treated exactly like any other applicant, because he wanted to see, with his own eyes, how this company treated people who looked like they had nothing to offer. By early afternoon, Zoe's stomach was growling loud enough that Marcus gave her the last half of his own sandwich and told her he wasn't hungry. A janitor named Lewis, pushing his cart past for the 4th time that day, was the only person who had said a single kind word to them since morning. He'd brought Zoe a cup of water and a paper napkin folded into a little swan, crouching down to show her how he did it, careful not to make a scene. Marcus thanked him quietly, and something in his chest tightened, because in 8 hours, the only warmth he'd received in that entire glittering building had come from the man mopping its floors. Then, just after 2 in the afternoon, the elevator doors opened, and a woman in a sharp pink dress strode out flanked by 4 executives, all of them scrolling through tablets, none of them looking up. She was Vanessa Cole, Senior HR Director, the very woman whose signature was on the interview letter Marcus had folded and refolded in his pocket all day. She didn't recognize him. She didn't even look for him. Instead, catching sight of a man in a slightly worn blazer sitting with a child on the lobby bench, her mouth curled into a look of open irritation, and she bent down toward him, jabbing a finger near his face, her voice sharp enough to carry across the marble floor. She told him, in front of everyone, that this was a professional building, that loitering with a child was inappropriate, and that if he didn't have actual business here, security would need to escort him out. She never once asked his name. Marcus felt Zoe's small hand tighten around two of his fingers. He felt every eye in that lobby turn toward them, felt the heat crawl up his neck, and for one long, silent moment, he simply looked at Vanessa Cole and let her finish. Then, calmly, he reached into his jacket and unfolded the letter she herself had signed. He said his name, slowly, so there could be no mistake. And he said one more thing, that he was there not only as an applicant, but as the new majority owner of Ashford Holdings, the company that now controlled her paycheck, her department, and, as of last week, this entire building. The lobby went utterly silent. Vanessa's face drained of color as she stared at the letterhead, at the signature that matched her own, at the man she had just humiliated in front of his daughter and half the building staff. Tablets lowered. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Somewhere behind the crowd, Louis the janitor stood very still, gripping his mop handle, watching the moment unfold with something like quiet disbelief. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He simply asked, gently, whether this was how Ashford treated every visitor who didn't look wealthy enough to matter, or only the ones sitting alone with their children. What happened over the following weeks became something of a legend inside that company. Marcus didn't fire Vanessa in a blaze of vengeance, though everyone braced for it. Instead, he asked her to spend one full week working the front desk herself, greeting every visitor, learning every name, before deciding whether she still wanted her old position. He gave Louis a promotion to facilities manager and a raise that let the janitor finally take his own daughter to visit colleges. And he quietly created a new company policy: every guest waiting in that lobby, regardless of how they were dressed, would be offered water, a seat, and basic dignity within the first 10 minutes. He called it, simply, the Zoe Rule. If this story moved something in you, if it reminded you that kindness costs nothing and cruelty always comes home to roost, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs the reminder that we never truly know who is sitting quietly in front of us. Your support means everything to this channel and helps us keep telling stories like Marcus and Zoe's. And before we go, here's a small request just for you. If you believe that every person deserves to be treated with respect, no matter what they look like or what they seem to have, type the word kindness in the comments below. Let's fill this space with that one word, together, as a reminder to ourselves and everyone watching. Marcus never went looking for revenge that day. He went looking for a job, the same as anyone else, and what he found instead was proof of exactly who deserved a seat at his table. Zoe, for her part, still keeps that paper swan Louis folded for her on her nightstand, a small reminder that even on the hardest, longest, most invisible days, someone is always watching who is kind, and someone always remembers.